Degrassi fans, Degrassians, whatever it takers. Brendan Jeffers here. I played Vince, not Tiny. So I've got some questions from you via the Degrassi Kid. Hey, Jocelyn. And I'm supposed to choose one of them to answer here on video. But you know what? I'm going to answer a whole bunch. Yeah, let's do it. Alicia Nichols has not a question, more of a kind message, which I appreciate. Hey, Alicia. I always loved Vince. He was my bad boy crush and literally had him all over my wall. Yeah, right. You did not have Vince all over your wall. Anyway, when I finally got the chance to actually speak to you, Brendan, it blew my mind how completely opposite you are. This is true. I am nothing like Vince. I do like my hoodies, though. But it just made me respect you as an actor even more. Thank you for always being kind and talking to your fans. P.S. I still think Vince was just misunderstood. I think Vince was misunderstood, but he's just like, he did so much bad stuff. You know? And all he needed was love, and I could have fixed him. Y'all cannot convince me otherwise. If I can't convince you otherwise, what am I supposed to say? I was gonna say Vince is Vince, and he's not gonna change, but maybe love could change him, you know? That's what the Beatles said, all you need is love. Mrs. Munson has a great question, and this was actually going to be the one question that I was going to answer before I answered a whole bunch of questions. But your question, Mrs. Munson, I thought Brendan was great in Degrassi. Thank you. I was wondering if he ever feels he gets typecasted or does he intentionally go for darker roles? I was watching the Canadian show 72 Hours True Crime and recognized him as a criminal in the episode. Mr. Perino was also in the episode as a detective. I was pleasantly surprised to see them in it. Yes, Mr. Perino, Tom Melissus, was in that episode with me. Did you catch who else was in that episode? Shanae Grimes Beach. Yeah. But to answer your question, do I feel like I get typecasted? I would say no. I get the opportunity to play a whole plethora of different roles, very diverse roles. I would have said 10, 15 years ago, I went out for a lot of thug roles, which isn't the greatest portrayal of young black men, but so be it. But nowadays, I barely go out for roles like that. The last role I played was a surgeon. Before that was a successful realtor. I just auditioned for a lawyer, so I get an opportunity to play a whole bunch of great positive roles, but darker roles are fun to play and a great challenge. So there's no doubt about it. I actually enjoy playing them. For that 72 hours role, I actually got the role because they thought that I looked like the guy. It's based on a true story, but I look like him. Degrassi CSI. Hey, Degrassi CSI. Aloha, Brendan. I loved seeing the picture of you and Richard Tiny at TIFF 50. Yeah. I hadn't seen Richard in probably 5 years. We used to see each other all the time at different parties, events, award shows, whatever. But I hadn't seen him in the longest time. He invited me to his TIFF party that he hosted, which I had a great time at. And then 2 days later, I saw him at the Degrassi doc after party. He was leaving, I was coming in. And that's where we posed for that picture that you've seen. Great guy, I love that dude. Check him out in it. Welcome to Derry. I'm looking forward to seeing that. 95 Max C with a great question. What's up, 95 Max C? Any episode Vince was in, you knew stuff was going down. You damn right. Do you think he would ever change? His brother Tiny changed, and I think he could have been inspired too. Or do you think he was too far down the rabbit hole? You know what? Vince was pretty far in the game. I don't know if he would have ever got out of it, but I'd like to think that he could have changed. Everyone has the opportunity to change, to mature, and I hope that Vince, if we ever do see his storyline continue, that he does change for the better. I'd like to think if there ever was a reboot of Degrassi, I would love, I think it's a long shot, but I would love to see Vince as a basketball coach at Degrassi or a counselor, because he would recognize if students were headed towards the wrong side of the track because he too was there. But it would also be awesome if he was just a troublemaker once again. Lenya Booth with a kind message. Hey Lenya, how you doing? I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If the episode had Vince in it, you knew it would be eventful. One of my favorite Degrassi villains, always bringing chaos to the greatest show ever. Yeah! I have to give credit to the writers. They wrote so much crazy shit for Vince to do, and I loved it. It was so much fun to play. I also have to give credit to the directors for allowing me to play and to add color to a character that could have just been a run-of-the-mill thug. But yeah, I just had so much fun playing Vince, and I'll always have fond memories of being on the set of Degrassi. But hold up, Lenya. Vince is not your favorite Degrassi villain? Here's one from Christine. Hey, Christine. I love this character. Thank you. The Bianca storyline is so good, and love how he came back in later seasons. I loved coming back for later seasons too. If I win this, please say a line your character said from the show. Name's Vince. You must be Bianca L. D'Souza. How's that, Christine? Whew, Matthew James with a long question. What's up, Matthew? I love the character because of how much Brendan brought the character to life and how serious the tone was, especially during the end of the Drew and Bianca storyline at the dance. And love the casting choices for him and Tiny being brothers with their resemblance. And my question is, how would Vince react to how much Tiny grew later on? Lots of love, Brendan, a legend. I am not a legend, but thank you. I think Vince would be really proud of Tiny. They both had similar setbacks in life, but Tiny did not go the path that Vince did, and I think that's admirable, and I think Vince would recognize that and be very proud of Tiny for growing up to be a fine young man. But on the other hand, perhaps Vince was very disappointed in Tiny because together the Bell brothers could have had the biggest drug empire in North America. But seriously, I think, Vince is proud of his brother. Jolene with a question. How did you get this role on Degrassi? And was this the role you were going for, or was there a different role that you were going for before the Vince character came about? Your character was awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, here's my story of how I got the Vince character. So I had an audition. My agent got me it. I was actually on set that day, so I honestly didn't think I was going to make it to the audition. But I ended up getting wrapped in time. I had lots of time, actually. I sat in my room on set and I watched Training Day for inspiration. So that Alonzo Harris character that Denzel Washington played was a big inspiration on how I initially played Vince. I went to that audition, and the Toronto acting community is huge, but it's also very tiny. You get to know pretty much everybody, especially people that are of your age and type. So I knew a bunch of guys in that room, and it made me feel like, oh man, I'm not getting this role. Just because I felt that many of the guys in the room could just be naturally more badass than me. So I just felt, I don't know. But I did the audition, I got the role, the rest is history, and I think that is a key lesson for actors out there. If a casting director wants to see you for a role, that's because they believe that you can play the role. So you should go out there and do your best work and snag that role. And even if you still don't believe that you yourself can play that role, somebody wants to watch you perform. So go out there, do your best work, and even if you don't get that role, they may consider you for another role. That's my advice to actors out there. I know you didn't ask for that, but there you go. Miss Lucy with a fun question. I gotta ask the question we all have. how did he get out of jail after the Drew thing? Like, he went to jail for the prom night fight and then somehow came back in time for Tiny and Zig to be involved in his gang? I'm always curious if they explained to him, like, if he got out early or on time, and what the time in jail was supposedly like for him. This is a fun question, so thank you, Ms. Lucy. I had to justify for myself why he was out of jail so early, and my initial thought was that he's young, so they gave him another chance. But he was a repeat offender, so I didn't buy that for so long. So here's my process, my thought process, and hopefully you buy this. Vince is the leader of his gang, yes, but there are people above him, and those people above him felt it was in their best interest to have one of their number one soldiers out on the street once again. So they flexed their financial muscles, whether it was bribing judges or lawyers or jury, to get Vince the smallest amount of jail time possible so they could have their number one soldier back out on the streets. That was my thought process. And as far as what jail was like for Vince, I'm sure a lot of you would like to think that he was somebody's bitch, but I think Vince is proven to be a pretty resourceful guy, so I think he would have learned the lay of the land in jail and run that place just like he was running his own gang, and he would have been just fine in jail. This was fun. It's always fun reminiscing on Degrassi, so thank you for all of your questions. Until next time.